much else to update on the actuals right now. Brenda did send out the preliminary Q2 bills, which are lower than we would have expected, but not really based on the summer we had. I appreciate the work Brenda did putting together her forecast. And, luckily it looks like if we do usage consistent with last year for the last 2 quarters, we should be in okay shape to close out the year. We're just going to have to monitor it and see how we do as we go into next budget cycle.
John, I have a quick question. How are the numbers for this quarter's billing compared to last year's? Sometimes it's hard to read the financial statements, but how?
Yeah, so that wouldn't be included on here yet because I only show the actual amounts that are committed and billed. So Brenda has sent out an analysis and she identified that based on the preliminary readings, we're about $300,000 short in Q2 compared to last year.
Okay. No, I did see Brenda's. She kind of pointed a lot of the stuff out for us. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. We are really short here. Now, this is the first quarter that we have the new rate. How many people did we have reach tier 3? Was it within your projection?
I mean, for the first billing cycle, which was in the first quarter, we were in the range.
The billing cycle we just finished. Yeah, the billing cycle just going out.
But no, because as you know, it rained significantly. So usage was significantly lower than any year prior. So we didn't get as many people in tier 3. We didn't get as much water usage in general.
Well, I mean, because I look back through some of the other commitments and, we had usage at this level a couple of years back also. So, I mean, this is not something that has never happened before. And I was just wondering, well, even so, did any of our customers reach tier 3?
Yes. I haven't looked at the latest quarter because Brenda hasn't provided me that yet. But in the previous quarter, it was similar to the projection. The spring bill was similar to the projection of the rate study.
Yeah, because I'm just slightly concerned here with this huge drop. $300,000 is quite a hit to take for our largest billing cycle. And wondering whether or not we should go back to what our initial proposal was that I made back over a year ago to include the town in tier 2 so that we have this cushion, because right now it looks like we are being saved through the system development charge through Stop and Shop. And I don't think we could count on something like that always happening. And, I'm just concerned with everything that we have on the books here going forward, that even a little cushion of $30,000, $40,000 from the town and combined the school might just help us a little bit. And if we just tell them now that we're planning on doing it come July 1st, we shouldn't have a problem. Steve, any comment? John?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment. At this time, I'm not prepared to vote in favor of changing the current structure that was just approved at town meeting. We would have to go to town meeting again and have this approved. My sense, without talking to people, is that there will be resistance to this, both at the town level and the schools. And I know with the schools that any expense that's not going directly to education is a hot button topic that will probably get a lot of families to come out to town meeting. So it could be difficult to pass this at town meeting.
So I don't know if we really have to go back to town meeting for this, but also on your issue about the schools, I was watching a program on 143 put on by one of the members of the Alternative Energy Committee, talking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the schools have gotten already from the solar array. And don't forget, the water department hasn't gotten anything. So the schools are being subsidized by another entity in town that does not come into our coffers at all, which would help us if we could get something from there.
I just know from I did 2 terms on the Class Education Foundation, which is the limited terms you can do. And I know things that you think the school would normally be able to pay for through their budget. Oftentimes you find out there's no money in the budget for, and that's the reason for the Class Education Foundation to try to raise money. And sometimes even a few $1,000s can go a long way in paying for important programs. So I just think this is going to be a very difficult sell. That's just my personal view. Steve, any thoughts?
No, we looked at this last year, and it wouldn't hurt to approach it with baby steps and just say, this is what we're thinking, but the worst they're gonna say is no, and then you get, I understand what the school system's going through, but be worth just bringing it up. We did mention to the advisory committee that we would look at it in the fall at the last meeting. So with some good numbers and some baseline, why not, right?
Okay, thank you, Steve. I think I'm going to make a motion that at this time, we alert both the town and the school that because of our situation, that we may be looking into putting them onto tier 2 for next fiscal year, to alert them of the possibility.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All opposed? Aye.
Thank you.
I'll send an email out to Chris and Patrick Sullivan.
Jason, just a preliminary talk about it. That's all.
Just tell them that, we're looking at our budget, and if goodness, we do have this weather event taking place again next year, it's really going to put us behind the 8 ball, because looking at Brenda's wonderful report, it's a great projection showing that we'll meet our budget, but I don't know if it will show any retained earnings at all. And this is what we've been counting on. Because I don't know how much you put into your figures for retained earnings, Jason, on the projects.
In the projected budget for last year, we had a transfer to capital of $696,000.
I was talking about that, the new projections that you had for the 10-year study, for the 10-year project plan.
Like I said, the big change on that one, that wasn't a significant change for year 1, at least, due to the fact that we pushed other projects out and pushed some forward. When you're talking about borrowing over 20 years, it's a kind of a minor change in the cost projection. But I agree.
Yeah, well, no,
we
that
can't.
wasn't the question. The question was whether or not, when you were doing this, you were anticipating retained earnings at the same level that we had been getting them.
I'm expecting us to meet the budget every year,
Okay,
not to have retained earnings, just to meet the budget.
okay.
Any more questions on financials for Don?
Anything on the year-end report?
What report are you referring to?
2021.
I understand that, but
I mean,
Yes.
have you finalized, has anything been finalized yet? Because
Oh,
last time
for-
it was a projection of what we had.
Yeah, we're working on submitting that. We have most of the forms ready to go into the DOR. Just working with the treasurer's office on the last couple. So we're probably be submitting it next week.
Okay, so on our next meeting, we could possibly get those.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, based on some of the conversation I've had with colleagues, some of the returns have been turned around pretty quickly. So yeah, depending on when the meeting is, I may have results then. Last year
Don-
we did submit sometime mid November, so a little ahead of the game this year.
Don, what's your current unofficial projection of retained earnings?
I think the last time we met, I said somewhere between 1.3, 1.4.
Okay. Because in the next piece, we're going to capital budget on Monday, so I just wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, that was the question I was asking because we have these upcoming meetings and the other boards like to know the numbers. Thank you for asking the question, Jason.
Okay, next topic is town meeting capital projects warrant articles.
So for the special, we're going in with I think we're going to increase it to 120,000 for the Elm Street extension to Stockbridge Street. Reason being is we're hitting a little bit more ledge at the start of this than we expected. We should be getting out of it shortly, but the portion around the corner, when I looked at it today, does have a significant amount of rock around the corner where it takes the turn by the Cohasset Harbor Inn. So I just want to have some extra money in there just in case we do run into some rock there during that extension. So that's the fall town meeting. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Just, I
Jason.
know, I
Go
know,
ahead,
it's just,
Steve.
I know we've talked, so what, and I don't know, again, I might be asking the same question. Why do we have to go to town meeting for the money if we could just take it out of our budget?
Well,
Jane?
we would basically deplete our extraordinary system maintenance budget if we were to spend that budget.
Yep.
And you're kind of skirting the concept of capital budget if you put forward a project that wasn't previously planned and did it as extraordinary system maintenance. So the idea is we need to replenish the budget to fill that gap. So we're temporarily going to be spending extraordinary system maintenance money. And if by chance we don't get approved at town meeting, then it will stay coming out of extraordinary system maintenance. Then we'll just have to tighten the belts till the end of the year.
Okay.
This is really
Okay.
just, sorry, I didn't get a chance to jump off, but now that I heard this, it's just good practice to go back. I mean, we already got the big portion of it approved as a project. This is essentially a change order to an original project that we went to town meeting for. So it really just makes sense to go to town meeting to fund the change order instead of just paying it out of your ordinary system maintenance, because this is a capital project. It really isn't, ordinary system maintenance. So like Jason said, you'd really just be just avoiding, I guess, publicly having to bring up that we're having a change order to do a little more of an extension on the project. So really it's just good process to do this.
So whether the town meeting is a yay or nay, we'll still have the funds to complete.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You'll
Okay.
essentially be able to do it. But again, it's a specific project that we went to town meeting for. It's just the right way to do it.
Yep.
See,
And-
now I remember previously, if we had events like this occur, it would be considered a transfer from retained earnings. And I was really surprised watching the selectmen's meeting the other week where Chris alluded to it might be coming out of town's free cash. I don't know where he got that idea.
I don't know. where
I
that
think he
came
just
from.
misspoke. We wouldn't be funding a water project with free cash.
Well, I know we wouldn't, but I'm just saying that was kind of a faux pas that was
He might have been
picked up
talking
by
about
several people. They asked me about it.
I was wondering if he
afterwards.
was talking about the Elm Street corridor project, having some free cash. I don't know, Don, what's the status on that, but that might have been the
I don't know.
confusion.
Jason, did you mention there's a capital budget meeting that we're going to Monday night?
Yes, so I just confirmed with Michelle, capital budget meets Monday night at, I believe, 7 o'clock. It might be 7:30. It has not been posted yet. I was planning on attending. If anybody else wants to attend, then more than welcome.
All right, if more than one of us are going to attend, don't we have to post a meeting?
Yep,
And it's going to be a Zoom meeting, I'm presuming.
yes.
Do you know, well, I guess we'll get the agenda, see what time we're on.
I think it's a very short list. I know it's the water main, voting booths, and Chief Quigley has something. I think that's the limit of the capital for the special.
Are you planning on going, John?
I've got to check my calendar, but I think we should post in the event more than one of us go.
Okay, that sounds good.
I agree.
Brenda, could you please do that?
Yeah, once I get the link, I can post it.
Thank you.
Brenda, just talk, Michelle's the one that posts that, so you might be able to just give her yours and she can post it when she does hers.
All right. Thanks.
And then Springtown meeting. So I sent you guys out the revised capital plan from yesterday. So there were some changes in the paving plan based on some of the construction projects that are going on right now. So we pulled Beechwood Street up. Actually, only a portion of it was on, but we put the entire portion that's going to be paved that's still 1900s water main in. And then Church Street and Doan Street up at the town line for water main replacements. So that's what we're planning for next year. So that's the right now the proposed projects, as well as we're still trying to come to grips with what we want to put forward for on the residuals. It's becoming a real issue out there. It's been an issue and it's getting worse. And so we have a couple of options. We could either do mechanical or expand the lagoons. Both are fairly significant cost items. So we'd be looking for at least another 600 on top of the 300 we already have. But we're trying to redefine that and get a better handle on what that actually is going to be.
How are we moving along with the DEP approval on the Sledge Lagoon? Because I know that was one of our holdups.
So the DEP that's the NIPD's permit for the outfall. So depending upon what we do there, if we switch over to mechanical, we might be actually returning all of the effluent from the press to the headworks. So there actually wouldn't even be a permit anymore for disposal. It would just be the only disposal would be then the sludge itself. So the permit we have right now is for the water that comes out of the sludge. So we might be eliminating that water
Because I
going
know
into the pond.
the other problem was when they were looking at expanding the Sludge Lagoon, oh gosh, 20, 25 years ago, it was the problem with the ledge.
Yeah, so that's the big, so when you look at the cost estimates we got, so the expanding the lagoons could be anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4 million to put in the right lagoon system. So we found a memo here in my office, actually from the old files about the lagoons when they were redone the last time. And they didn't put the third lagoon in that was supposed to be done. That's what that $300,000 budget came from, was to put a third lagoon. The problem is the lagoons are at the wrong elevation, and even the memo states that. They are, the invert of the outlet of the lagoons is below the high water mark of the pond. So the lagoons actually will have water from the pond in them. So we have to kind of scrap it to an extent if we were going to go for lagoons again and build entirely new lagoon system. So as of right now, as a team, we are leaning towards converting to a mechanical dewatering of the sludge, similar to what Hingham has. And that's kind of where we're focusing our efforts at this point, is fully vetting that option as the solution.
Is the mechanical more cost effective in the long run?
It's probably going to be potentially a wash, Steve, to an extent. There's some additional electric costs potentially, but manpower costs of the lagoons is uncalculable to an extent.
Just like this past spring, right?
Yeah, I mean, but every time, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a maintenance nightmare of labor versus, so when we took a tour with Darren over in Hingham, the system they have, they just turn it on. They get it started. It may take a half hour to an hour to get it started up and running. And then they just check it, 3 times a day. And they process their entirety of sludge. Right there, it goes right into a roll-off container and then to the landfill. So the nice part too about the mechanical is it spreads out the sludge cost. So we don't have this, oh my God, it's March and we just got a price from Bourne and we don't have enough money in the budget. Or like we had a few years ago where we needed another $100,000. We'll see that happening over the course of the year because we'll be sending the sludge away on a regular weekly or bi-weekly basis. We'll be sending it off to Bourne. So there won't be like a big pending cost in the spring. It'll already be done throughout the year.
Will this make
like it
the
does.
sludge less heavy, so it's cheaper to?
Yeah, so it'll dewater it to a higher level too than
Okay.
we're currently getting with the bags.
It also sounds like you guys did a lot of homework, and it seems like that makes a lot of sense, especially when it comes to man hours and just.
I think
Plus the disposal cost. If
Yeah,
it's going to be
disposal.
cheaper to dispose of.
it's only going to get more expensive to dispose sludge. Fred had an article he was talking about yesterday about how the cost for getting rid of sludge is only going to go up in the future. Having it be less weight and at a better product is going to be better for everybody.
If you think the mechanical is the best way to go, I would spend your efforts on researching that one.
That's where we are. We kind of have our cost estimate for the right lagoons at 2.4 to 1.2 to 1.4. I think we're going to be around that range for the mechanical, and then the mechanical, I think, in our group opinion, is the best long-term O&M. You basically have a contract with the vendor to come in and maintain the piece of equipment once a year. It's in the purchase contract, and they come in for the first 5 years as part of the original purchase contract to come in and annually service the equipment.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That does sound very promising. Thank you for looking into that. So we're now going on to the meeting we talked about with the
So-
select board advisory.
Hold on.
Capital budget.
Hold on, John.
I need you guys to vote if you want those projects to move forward, because the capital requests are actually due last Friday. So if we want to move forward with those projects, we need to vote today to do that. And you could say that, finalizing the numbers, then that is what it is, but we have to vote to. I guess again, we don't have to. We could just tell capital we're not prepared to submit yet, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, so
So
you're
you're talking
asking us to
about-
vote on 2.672 million?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
And if there's any changes between now and the next time we meet we can discuss and we could pull a project too. If we decide this, just because we submit doesn't mean we actually have to follow through on a project either. When we get to capital, we can pull it.
I'll make a motion that we approve going forward with the projects as proposed by Jason.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And I know Jonathan thanks you the most. He is dying to have something done with the sludge.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too that over time, the efficiency of the bags drops as they fill. So as we approach the end of each calendar year, the situation gets more and more difficult. Whereas with the mechanical dewatering is 100% reliable, steady year round.
So basically, when you fill the bags up, the pores get clogged by fines, and therefore the water doesn't come out as quickly. So the bags are really good for certain applications. I don't think the one we're using them for is the best. We might look at next year. We found out we could stack the bags. We might go with a smaller, more bags and see if we get less blinding next year. Because we're looking at the bags for next year. We're not going to have something in place that quickly.
Well,
It's good to
Jonathan,
hear
I
from this.
totally agree with you. I've been hearing this for 10 years now on the board.
And it's also good to hear from the folks that actually deal with it on a day-to-day basis, that you're making the right decision. So hopefully, John, this will be an early birthday gift in 1 year or two from now.
It would be nice. And I've just, on the time I've been on the board, I just keep seeing the cost of disposal going up and it becoming more difficult to find places to take the sludge. So to the extent we can decrease the weight and improve the quality of what we're shipping off, we're gonna be better off.
So the meetings with the capital budget, I did reach out to Chris, and we're still he's trying to just determine what's the best course of action for that. Are we going to do it as part of this budget cycle or a separate special meeting? I think he's leaning towards, with the budget cycle, we have a presentation during that process.
Okay. Is that the same, just as we're talking about, the last item on the agenda is word and current presentation to the town?
That's a different one. So this was the
Okay.
that meeting we were talking about, John, was to present the CIP project results to
Okay.
the three boards. But maybe we could loop the Woodard and Curran presentation and then try and make it one special meeting with all three groups.
Okay, I got you. So the Woodard and Curran one is the one we talked about a while ago, where they talk about generally what's going on at the plant, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Might be good to if we can, since it's hard to get all the boards together. Unless, I don't know, Fred, can you tell us, was your presentation going to be to the same boards that we're talking about here, Select Board Advisory and Capital Budget?
I'm sorry, tell you what, where we do a general presentation on the performance of the, how Water and Current's doing here, how the water department's running. Is there anything specific that I missed?
No. I'm just wondering who you make the presentation to. Do you do it, when you say to the town, I assume you're talking about the Select Board Advisory Committee and Capital Budget?
Yeah,
Or-
that's correct. Obviously, be honest with you, Steve, I've never done it in this town, so I would have to refer to Paul Roof. And probably Brenda could probably better answer that question.
Okay, but you're not talking about getting up at town meeting and making a
Uh,
presentation?
No.
no,
Okay.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, and in the past, we've never done this on this type of platform. What I do once a year is I put together the accomplishments of the water department and whatnot, and where we spent the monies, and it goes into the town warrant for the year-end reports and whatnot. And that goes out to everybody, but Woodard and Curran has never done a formal, here I am kind of thing, so.
I could tell you, Steve, that the powers that be, my bosses really would like for me to do something for the town. So if we can make that happen, that would be great.
I would suggest we try to do it in the same meeting. So we're not trying to schedule two separate meetings with all these different boards, and we just have to be sensitive to time, how much time we're gonna take.
I could do something in 10 minutes if you'd like.
Yeah, you'll probably get lots of questions, so I bet it'll go longer, but that would be good.
Make it happen.
All right, so Jason, you're taking the lead on kind of figuring out when that's gonna happen?
Yep.
Okay. And then we have the final design for Lily Pond, GAC.
Yeah, so the question there is, we're looking at about a 6-month timeline from start to finish on that design. And the cost is probably going to be about 10% of the construction cost. So you're probably looking at about $300,000-ish for the design. So the question is, do we want to go out for requests for proposals for that, or do we want to just continue with the existing contract?
I would probably say go out for requests for proposals, because previously, with the information that they gave us, they were looking for 20% engineering costs for that.
That's in the budgetary purposes,
Oh, okay.
to give us, it's the idea is to give us a enough money so we don't run out of money. They give us a high number. In general industry average for engineering costs is 10%, 10 to 12%.
No, I mean,
design
that's
fee.
why that jumped out at me, being 20. Well, another question I had, remember when we had the presentation from them, I was asking about different plants in the area who have this same GAC system.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be getting back to us so
He
that we could
did
tour
get
them.
back to me and I forgot to forward it to you guys. I apologize. He sent me an email of the people that do have it. I can find it and forward it.
Okay, that'd be good, because I'd like to know, because what is the maintenance and the heating costs annually on this? I didn't see any numbers about that.
Yeah, there was annual cost for utilities in that
Was it?
cost
Okay.
estimate.
Because it was the electrical cost of running the pumps, but I didn't see the heating costs.
Yeah, we might be changing that too, based on discussions, the pumping, we might be changing design slightly. So go out to RFP. Do we want it to be central register bid, or do you want to do selected firms only? Thoughts?
Well, how many you think a lot of people are gonna bid on? I mean, there's-
Everybody's gonna
everybody's gonna jump on it.
everybody's gonna, like, we're gonna get, well, everybody will bid on it.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then you could do the selective portion.
Yeah, you can come up with a group of companies that you feel comfortable with.
I can work with Fred and come up with a list. Do you agree, Fred? The question is gonna be, and this will come to Woodard, do you want to bid on it? And if so, then you can't be part of the selection.
Correct. But don't you have to bid for it anyways if it's above X amount of dollars for a public
No.
building anyways?
Not for
Engineering.
engineering fees are exempt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, because the last time Woodard decided not to, so that they could be on the selection, or they just decided not to. But that will be, because then we have to come up with who's the selection committee if they do decide to bid.
We can discuss how to pre-qualify, Jason.
No, but you still have to evaluate the bids, Fred. I
I
mean,
know.
you're not going to pick the low bidder, because then
I know,
might-
but yeah, right. But who's done this type of work?
I know how to pre-qualify people. I'm asking the question: who's reviewing the proposals
Yeah,
when
if
they
that-
come in?
If that were the case, if we decide to go Woodard and Curran, we would not be part of that. You are
Yeah.
correct.
So,
Okay.
I'm not saying that's an end. That just makes it. It's fine. We'll deal with it. if it happens.
Okay,
So-
Elms Meadow update.
So you got the final design and report. The state approved it and is reimbursing us currently for those costs. So they ended up recommending ion exchange. We're going to meet with them to discuss that and determine there's a small savings in cost annually to do ion exchange versus GAC, but as far as operations are concerned, they have the same process at two sites is better for our operators. So we're going to have internal discussions about that before we finally approve that document.
Now, do we have any projection of cost or how long it's going to take to implement, when we can possibly plan on opening again?
I didn't even put it in the capital plan, to be honest with you, but I can tell you what the cost was. Hold on. Sorry, I meant to look at this earlier. So the operational cost is $40,000 a year. And the construction cost was $390,000 or $400,000.
And it's being done within our existing building, correct?
Yes.
Right. Now, the other problem we have down here, though, is the security. As we have not been successful for 10 years in whatever we've done to try and eliminate any type of dumping that could be causing some of this pollution. We should probably look at a fence. I actually had someone say to me, well, why don't you have security 24/7 on hand? And I didn't want to answer that one. But a
So
fence,
do you want me to try to fit that into the capital plan? I'm assuming.
what?
That rehabilitation in Elms Meadow.
I don't know, because if we get it rehabilitated and up and running, that was kind of a good chunk in our budget to be saving us money. But I don't know how long it would take to repay the cost.
So you want me to
Unless,
look at some
as
numbers on,
Jean Healy-Dippold has been saying, there is COVID money available for water projects. So I don't know if we can get one of those grants.
so two notes. There was a weird anomaly in our results that showed that we've talked about it previously, that the PFAS was being eliminated by simple filtration. We are continuing to run that test, and it is continuing to decrease it, but there's a question that was brought up by the lab that I'm trying to look into with the engineer, that there's potential that you can get adsorption into the filter to start, and therefore removal. So we are still looking at potentially doing a short-term look at, can we do it to suspended solids removal at Elms Meadow? It wouldn't be for PFAS removal, but it'd be for removal of suspended solids, some bag filters installed inline to see what it does to reduce the PFAS levels in our monthly pumping results.
Now, is this in addition to the IX?
It's already in the IX design. So in the IX design, they do pre and post bag filters.
Mhm.
So I'm just looking to implement it before we do the entire project, do a small project just to see if the bags actually remove any level of PFAS. It may eliminate the remaining project if it actually does work long-term. So I'm trying to get some costs together to do that just under system maintenance potentially.
Well, Carl or Fred, do you have any experience with anything like this?
As far as bag filters, no.
Yeah, I
No.
do.
We continue to do the sampling. Now, last month, the unfiltered sample came back, I believe, at 17, and the filtered sample was 15. So it reduced it by 2 parts per trillion. Now, whether that's going to be consistent, we don't know, or I don't know at this time.
It seems as though we've only had that really one large hit that just jumped like 8 points in
That's
January.
correct. Yes, and we
And since
sampled
then,
at
we
the start of the month. We did sample at the start of the month, and those results we should have back this week.
I personally would hold off on the putting it in the capital plan until we see, once we get a year's worth of data on what the actual PFAS levels are. I mean, like you said, Lee, the numbers have never been above the threshold since that one number. So we could spend $300,000 and have a system that never gets used. I mean, it's going to make the water quality better. The other problem is going to be is, to Carl's point, the manganese level is rising at that well field. And if that manganese level gets to a point where it needs to be treated, that's a major upgrade down there to put a green sand filtration in on top of the ion exchange.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically saying that we're kissing this well field goodbye?
I did not say that. I said I'd
It
like to
sounds
implement the
we're
bag
putting off
filters.
another year of testing and then possibly.
No, I'm going to put the bag filters in, like I said, and see what that does to the water quality long term, and then see what we get for results, and maybe we just turn it back online and not do any other treatment.
So
Leave-
if these results come in good, say this week or next week, that is a year's worth of data for the PFAS, correct? Like last year.
I'd want to get through January when we had the problem and see, because the problem, Steve, is if you get a hit, it's immediately notification. So I don't feel that I have some amount of angst, and I don't know how the Woodard guys feel, but my fear is getting to the January again, having a problem. And we didn't continue to test, so we don't know how long that problem lasted.
But I agree with you, because I was on the Ware River Committee, and it had been brought up twice about our well field, and so look, kind of err on the side of caution, right?
To lead, to answer your question, I don't have experience with the bags, but it is the next best step. I would have to agree with Jason.
Okay, but I think here we are, we're talking sort of in circles here, that there is a possibility that we could be using this site in the future, depending on several variables. And, I went to a garden club meeting, and I actually had a member say to me, Lee, people are going in there with motorized vehicles cutting the trail in so they could dump. So I think that we should be keeping in our back pocket the amount necessary to put up a fence.
So the last time we talked, do you still want to do the not chain link, but just kind of that white guardrail style fence like we have in Cohasset in different places? Is that still what you want to do?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Just to prevent people from walking. It's more to make it a physical barrier so you can't drive a wheelbarrow in there, not fully prevent somebody could jump over that fence still. Do you care? Or do you want it to be a chain link fence?
Well, initially we were talking about that fence that's along the walkway on Jerusalem Road right before you get to the causeway. So it's not the white one, it's the natural.
Yeah.
and it's a little higher than the typical little white fence.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about when we put in the CPC application, when we were discussing having it turned into a, let's say, nice garden spot in the area. But it seems as though people are not interested in that. So I don't know. What do you think? Chain
I
link?
think-
I'm just thinking about security, because if we do go through any of these alternatives to alleviate our problem, we want to make sure our problem is alleviated. Right?
Generally, my sense is that water supplies are protected by chain link fences, my limited experience. So we may want to consider that. As far as timing on getting costs, I don't know if we want to do it right now. Material costs, I think everyone knows, are varying greatly because of supply chain issues. And the price we get right now could differ a lot from when we actually are prepared to put the fence in. And so it may make most sense to get to that point. See if do want to put a fence in and get costs at that time.
Yeah, wait until the spring when we're getting close to the end of the budget season. If we have money left over, get a price and put it in.
Or else do we need to put a placeholder in for one of our capital projects? Because I remember at one point you were talking around $100,000 for the fence. For
Yeah,
that whole
It
area.
wasn't cheap.
Yeah. You know, this is the only thing I just want to make sure that we are covering all bases, that if we have to put a placeholder in
My
and
only
not
fear,
use it, it's better than not having it and need it.
my only fear with the chain link, and I agree with you, John, we do have the chain link around the building and in the well field itself. My fear with the chain link fence is maintenance. We currently can't maintain what we have, and there's weeds and everything growing up them. And to add another half a mile of chain link fence up against the wooded area, it's just going to be, we're going to get more calls and complaints about what it looks like than it's going to be worth, I think, maintenance wise. And I'm sure I know Brenda's mentioned the same thing. So that's my only real fear of a chain link fence, and also getting it in there. Like the trees are right up against the street, especially on James Lane. So we may have to take some trees down in order to get the fence up as well.
The chain link fence, just in my opinion, I think it's a great idea, but to Jason's point, it would be a maintenance nightmare, especially after a year when weeds start going through it. You know? Is that what you're
So
saying,
we still
Jason?
need some type of security, because the neighbors are not interested in doing anything in that area. It doesn't bother them that it's a disaster.
No, I'm saying I think that the shorter fence, just for the optics and also the ability to not drive things in there, would be the best option. But we can discuss it more when the time comes and we're ready to get pricing.
All right, so long
Yeah,
as we leave an option open
actually,
for something.
And Lee, if we're gonna put it as part of capital, let's put it as part of capital, we're gonna rehabilitate the building. If we decide to move forward with a major renovation, then put it in as part of that project.
I did, I was driving by 2 weeks ago, unrelated to looking. I did see someone with throwing a wheelbarrow or two of stuff in there as I drove down the road.
Why didn't you stop, Steve?
I had my kids with me.
So
But I actually saw it firsthand, so.
okay. So that's the update on Elms Meadow. Lily Pond. So we had a guy come in, Carl's guy. He gave us a proposal to do an area out in front of the intake structure with a vacuum dredging piece of equipment, and we're looking to, I'll forward that off to you guys, but we're looking to implement that one for this year and have it happen in March. He recommended that's the best time of year to do this kind of work, is March, because that's when the vegetation is dead to the most point but you still can suck out the roots, which is the point of the project. But one other piece of that in discussions, I reached out to another vendor who does the more large scale dredging. And I'm gonna start looking into what that project might cost to dredge the entire pond as one big capital project. And we're probably gonna bring that back to you guys in a subsequent meeting as an option to put into the capital plan, that project to dredge Lily Pond.
Okay, I just have a question about the weeds in front of the intake. Because I remember when I first came on that the staff were taking the weeds off the screens 3 to 4 times a day. And then Woodard and Kern came in and we started with the suction. Have we managed, Carl, to push back the weeds maybe 10, 20 feet?
Well, we put the barrier down every spring, take it up every fall, and we have the weed curtain. So as far as weed removal at the screen, it's tremendously reduced from what it was before we did this. But as far as the silt, I think, the siltage, as we're drawing water, continues to pull it in towards the intake. Now, when we dredged, when we cleaned the silt, I believe 4 years ago, we noticed for a year's time that the manganese levels dropped considerably. Now, whether or not that was coincidental with weather or whatever, I'm not certain, but I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the silt removed again in a much more expanded area than we did last time.
So basically, we were going to spend $30,000 with this guy to come in and do that work. So we have 50, we spent 5. It leaves, we have to buy the bags because it's gonna be the same. We're gonna have the geo bags. So we're gonna be pretty close to the $50,000 allotment for milfoil for this year when we're all said and done.
Sounds good.
And based on the amount that he's gonna get, we have to come up with that's why we're looking at the dredging as an option, because given the amount he's gonna get done, it would take, I think he's doing an acre for $30,000. So with 50 acres of pond, it would be literally 50 years by the time we got around. I don't think that's going to be an effective way to get rid of 90% weed density. Elm Street water main, they're under construction. A little bit of slow going at the first. There's more ledge than we expected at that first portion. It should dive off after we get past Stevens Lane. And they should pick up speed from there.
How are you dealing with the ledge? Hammering it or?
They were able to get it out by just ripping, but right at the end of Stevens is a really hard piece. They were going to get the whole ram today to take that piece out.
How are they ripping it out?
They were ripping out the first portion, but the piece they got to was too competent. It was too close to the gas main that they were worried about just tearing at it. So they're gonna hammer it out.
Okay.
Arc flash study, I'll leave that to you guys at Woodard. That's kind of an operational thing.
The company that was hired to do the study, they were here on September 30th. We have some additional information that we have to provide that wasn't included in their proposal. That will be done this week. In their proposal, they estimated 4 weeks to complete the report after they received all of the information. So I would anticipate the report by mid-November at the latest.
Okay, Bear Hill lease. Everything was signed and executed. They are quote unquote in the process of cutting their $5,000 deposit check. Oh, shit. Bird just flew into my window.
Oh, wow.
So they are in the process of cutting the $5,000 check for us that's due within the first 30 days of execution. And we actually have a site meeting tomorrow with their representative and their contractors to discuss the construction portion of the work. Additionally, Verizon reached out to me today, and they are looking to extend their lease. That lease term ends, I think, 1.5 years, he said. So he is going to be sending me some information in the near future. As part of that, I'm going to work with Fred and the engineers at Woodard to do a structural review of both of these tank expansion projects, just to make sure that there's no issue structurally with either of the proposals that are in the works.
Jason, last time when we went through this was Verizon, we, as you recall, did a big analysis or had them do one of their coverage scope.
Mhm.
And we had Chief Sylvia involved because of the issues where there's very bad coverage from Verizon. So I think we'd want to ask them if they want to extend, are they going to make any improvements to the coverage areas, especially where, you know, you're driving along certain areas of town, you just lose coverage.
Yep. And also on that note, John, Ron is actually working with an outside vendor to determine places in town to put microgrid like cell to enhance coverage as well. But yes, we can request that from Verizon to say, what is your change? What is your proposed change going to do as far as coverage is concerned?
And Jason, so how would it work if you put in, would these be the town?
Yeah, so it'd be
spots?
on the town's fiber loop. You tie in some like repeaters basically that would pick up cell calls and route them accordingly.
And it would be for T-Mobile, Verizon, it would pick
Everybody, yeah,
everybody and extend it. That'd be great.
yeah, that's the concept.
Okay, something slightly off topic here, but is there any update on the Boy Scout and his project?
I haven't heard. I did mention it to Sue when I was on a call with her, saying, just at the school, because I haven't had a chance to talk to Patrick, I said to her, I know Patrick's is go forward on this, but you got to really think about the maintenance of those stairs long term. We ran into the similar problem with the baseball field stairs there. They don't get maintained, and then they're a slip fall hazard. So we just wanted to put her on notice.
Been
just
there on
make
that
sure.
one.
You fell down those stairs at Milliken before?
Yep, first step.
So
Yeah,
we're
well, I
looking
think they need a building permit, right? That the building
Yeah.
department would need to sign off on.
so that's that. Is there anything else on Bear Hill? No. So I sent out the I got the submittal on 508 CJC. The hearing is on the 2nd of November. It'd probably be worth us writing a official letter from the Water Commission in response to that application, and then follow up by being at the meeting. But I think we should send an official letter to the ZBA stating our thoughts. And if you guys are for that, then I can work with Fred and Carl on writing something up.
I think that's a great idea. I think talking about the proximity to our water source, the big PFAS issue that's we're dealing with, and just I think putting it in writing would be great.
Okay.
And I'm also concerned about the repair garage that's right there and wondering whether or not the trailer is a residence.
I don't. I'll stick to the issues associated with the expanded use. I don't want to get into what people are doing and their,
Well, I don't know if he has a permit to have
according
a
to,
residential trailer there.
according to John Hallen, he will tell the ZBA not to even listen to the meeting unless he has removed the trailer prior to the meeting being held.
Oh, okay.
That was what he said. I will confirm that with him, but that was his, he said, if you don't get rid of the trailer before the meeting, then I'm gonna say you're in non-compliance. And so,
You know, I don't know about the dumpster that's right behind the repair garage. Is that an illegal position?
I can take a look at you. The Fred, Carl, Jonathan, somebody want to go, or all of us want to go walk the site at some point, and
I mean, you could see
Make
the
a list of-
dumpster from the street.
I know, but we should really walk the site
Yeah.
realistically and write notes.
You may want to, Jason, as part of your letter, it might be good in your site visits, to take pictures.
Yeah.
As part of your presentation. or
Agreed.
letter.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah,
And I have those pictures from a year ago.
And you sent those to me.
Mhm. If you lost
meter-
them, I still have them.
I think I still have them. Meter reading and water usage, I'm assuming, did we touch that already, or do we want to rehash that?
I think we've touched it. I think we should touch the next two.
I
Yeah,
agree.
next three.
So yeah, so the goal too, just one last thing on sludge lagoons, the goal is we're gonna try and process that sludge ASAP as soon as we think the freeze thaw cycle's over. So we're gonna try and hit the ground running and be ready come March to cut the bags open and get rid of them.
Okay, Lee, any meeting notes to approve?
Yes, we have our meeting notes from the last two meetings of Brenda. Let's see, we're having September 13th, 2021. Any votes to approve those?
Motion to approve,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
aye. And the minutes of August 24th, 2021.
Motion to approve,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any abatements?
Not at this time.
Any commission comments?
No comments.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See ya.
Sure.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.